understanding what is ISO IEC 42001 from the perspective of becoming the lead auditor for the same. So, what are the components on the AI governance? What is the standard? How we can do the audit? Okay, so ISO IEC 42001 2023 was introduced for having the management standard on AIMS. Okay, so it covers the topic in a comprehensive way to manage the artificial intelligence. So, what is artificial intelligence that we are discussing? Okay, so it is human intelligence done or used by the machines, uh, the way machines are programmed to think like humans. So, is that a new concept? Okay, so artificial intelligence as a concept was introduced by a gentleman called John McCarthy way back in 1955-56, where he's saying that when machines are doing the work which is expected from the humans, like you have calculator or you have a robotic arm, is a artificial intelligence. So it's not a new concept, but today with the introduction of OpenAI and all, it has boomed suddenly, and that's where we need to know that what is that artificial intelligence. Today we are discussing about how machines are getting trained on thinking like humans, and how do we cover it from the audit perspective, how do we control it. Okay, so that's on artificial intelligence what we have now. When we talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning becomes the embedded part of the artificial intelligence. Okay, so it's a subset which enables the devices, which enables the artificial intelligence or the systems to learn from the data, okay, and improve the performance over the time. So what you are doing, you are training the machines from the legacy data to think like the humans without the human intervention. So you have a large data repository which is fed to your computers. Okay, do the processing, learn from this. Okay, you take a knowledge from this, and what happens is you are doing automation, you are doing the training to the devices to take the decisions on its own without any human intervention. So that is what is your machine learning. So normally when you are looking at the concept, AI and ML, they go hand in hand. So without machine learning as the subset, artificial intelligence will not have the usual performance. Okay, so that is where the concept of data science has came into the picture. Okay, so it integrates the statistics, it trains the devices from the data, so you extract the insight from the data for and help for a decision making. So you find out the trends, you find out information from the data. So you have a huge chunk of data. Say for example, you are a retail organization, you have a huge chunk of retail data. So you find out that, okay, if you are say selling mobile phones, so what kind of a phones you are selling? Are you selling Samsung? Are you selling Apple? Okay, and if yes, then what model of Samsung, how many devices, what model of Apple, how many devices, what is a color which is getting sold more, what is a capacity which is getting sold more. So from the huge pool of data, you are finding out the detailed information, you are finding out the trends for what, to make the decisions easy for the stakeholders, the business heads, the management. So that's the concept of data science on the artificial intelligence. Okay, so this AI, ML, data science, these all enable the organizations to be more uh, agile, more fruitful on the decision making. So these AI concepts basically works on the algorithms, the models on which the training happens, the data is sent. Okay, it depends upon what kind of the accurate information it generates. Is it generating any bias? Bias is like, is it generating something which is not accurate, or tending towards having some infectious information, inaccurate information. So these things are important. If you are generating a bias where the information is not accurate, that means your AI is going to be harmful more than productive. Okay, it is going to help like a neural network where you are going to make human like decisions. You are going to automate the things to work on its own. Okay, it is going to help organizations to remove the dependency on humans on a repetitive task. You are going to spare the humans to do more effective activities where the human brain is required, and the monotonous or repetitive activity you are going to give it to the machines, you are going to give it to the artificial intelligence. Okay, so now when you are doing this, there are going to be the regulatory stipulations, there are going to be the need of transparency which will be there. So there are going to be AI governance frameworks which will require the accountability, the traceability, and the human oversight. You cannot leave everything to the machines. Okay, you already have the EU AI framework which is released, and which depicts that how the artificial intelligence has to be used from the governance perspective, how you are going to make sure that your data is from a right source. So what is going to be the source of your data? Is it trustworthy? Have you taken the data without the permission of a particular person? How you are purifying the data? How you are training your systems? All that will come into the picture. And most important thing, whenever this is happening, still the human supervision, human monitoring is going to be important. Okay, so that is something which is going to be extremely important. And with all this, you have to make sure that you are doing the ethical use of the artificial intelligence. So you make sure that there is a fairness of the information. You are not taking the information in an unauthorized way. There is the sources are trustworthy. You are not stealing the data. The privacy of the users, the privacy of people is maintained. Okay, you are not doing any discrimination on the information. You are not having any kind of a bias generated. You are not using the data for which you have not taken the permission. Okay, so all those ethical requirements for the use of artificial intelligence will be there. And with that in mind, okay, you have to make sure that there is a responsible use of the artificial intelligence. You have to balance the innovation, you have to control the governance, you have to do the risk management. There has to be a proper transparency of your artificial intelligence. Okay, so how you will do that? There has to be a framework which has to be defined, that okay, organizations who are going to deploy these kind of the systems. So there are going to be the organizations who will develop the artificial intelligence system. There are going to be the organizations who will implement these systems on behalf of some organization. and there are going to be the organizations who are going to have the end users who will use these systems. Okay, and all of these will have the requirement of the responsible use of AI. There has to be a proper framework to govern the usage of the AI. Okay, and with that in mind, the ISO IEC 42001 has been designed. Okay, so it's a international standard for the AIMS. Okay, artificial intelligence management system. Okay, so that is with that intention this standard is designed. It gives the requirements, right from defining the organizational context, how the leadership will play the pivotal role in implementing the standard in the organization, what kind of resources will be required, how to do the risk assessment. All those things will be defined in this standard. Now, is this standard the something which will be beneficial for the organization? So it is going to be beneficial for all the organizations who will be developing this or deploying this as an implementation, or they are going to use the AIMS. Okay, so any of these things, if the organization is doing, this is applicable to those who select to get certified. Okay, so this standard is for those who want to claim that okay, they are doing a transparent development or transparent deployment or a transparent utilization of the artificial intelligence system in their organization. Okay, so that is the applicability. Benefit is that if you are doing it as per the defined standard requirements, that means you are giving the assurance that you are doing the development which is beneficial for the society. You are having the fair use of the AI system, you are having the responsible use of AI system. So you are taking the risk based approach. You are doing the identification of the AI related risks. You are documenting this. You are preparing the AI related risk register. You are doing risk rating. You are doing the risk treatment. All those things will help you to prove the reliability of the solution which is either getting developed or implemented in your organization. So that is something which will help from a long run perspective for any organization. Okay, so risk assessment plays a vital role, and then you do the treatment on the identified risk. So these clauses will cover the context of the organization, why that organization want to be certified under the ISO IEC 42001, how the leadership is going to support that organization, what are the plans, operational evaluation, performance evaluation, continuous improvement. So all that will be covered. So this will have clauses which are from clause 4 to clause 10, and it will also have the annexures which will have the controls which will be defined in the way that okay, how you are going to implement this ISO standard in your organization. Okay, so these controls will define that what kind of the implementation which is required to be done in the ISO 42001. What are these requirements from the overall perspective? Okay, so basically it defines the specific security, risk management, ethical requirements. All these things will be defined in the control. So you have controls related to the internal organizations, resources used for the AI system, impact assessment of the AI system, the life cycle of the AI system, policies and ethical principles for the use of AI system, data management in AI system. So all this will be covered in your annexure. Okay, so that will help to define that what kind of the controls are applicable. So you will prepare the statement of applicability and you will select which are the controls which are applicable for your organization out of defined set. Now for implementing that, for implementing the ISO IEC 42001, you also will require the supporting standards to be implemented. So one of the supporting standard which the organization will require for successful implementation of ISO IEC 42001 is ISO IEC 22989. This is the standard which defines the common language and the conceptual framework for the artificial intelligence. So it establishes the commonly used vocabulary, what are the core concepts of the artificial intelligence, how it has the applicability on various organizations. So key AI concepts which are required to be shared from the organization's perspective are defined under this standard. Then you have ISO IC 23053, which basically is the standard which defines the framework for the machine learning. Okay, so it helps describing how to manage the artificial intelligence systems which are using the machine learning. So it provides the common vocabulary to be used in various components of the AI system. Okay, so features here will be that you are defining the essential components for the use of ML. It will have the various guidelines that how the ML is used within the artificial intelligence dependent on ML, what are the components which will govern the use of ML. So that is defined under ISO IC 23053. So that will be required from an audit perspective, that you know what is used during that. Then the next standard which is relevant from the perspective of the ISO IC 42001 is ISO IC 23894, which basically defines the risk management from the artificial intelligence perspective. So this is basically the standard which provides the guideline for the risk assessment. Okay, and it is applicable to any organization which will do the development of the AI system, or will do the implementation of the AI system, or will use it as the end users for its organization. So any such organization will have to follow the ISO IC 23894 framework from the risk assessment, risk identification, risk treatment perspective. So these all will play the pivotal role in successful implementation of 42001 ISMS. Okay, and this standard follows the guidelines, the principles which are defined by ISO 31000. Then you have the ISO IC 42006, which is basically the guideline framework which defines the auditing principles for the certifying bodies. Okay, so how to do the audit for AIMS. So that is basically defined by the ISO IC 42006. Okay, so it is basically apart from the standard, the 19011, and also so 19011, which says that how to do the audit, and 17,021 which speaks about the processes to be followed by the auditing or a certification bodies. Apart from that, specific to AIMS requirements are provided by this 42,006 standard. So with these things, what you are doing, you are basically auditing the integrity, objectivity, and the evidence-based approach for the AIMS audit. Okay, so whatever are the objectives which are highlighted by the organization, what is the scope defined by the organization, based on that the respective audit will be conducted by the auditors. So these auditing principles will be defined or will be used from in a combination of ISO 19,011, 42,006, and 17,021. Okay, so you will do the audit from the perspective of the impartiality, the competence, the adequate resource availability, from the perspective of the AIMS structure. What kind of a specific resources are required? AIMS for you is completely different from other processes, so you require some specific designation, you require the specific skill sets, like you require data analyst. Okay, you require prompt engineer, you require the AI manager. So do you have, and these are few to name, okay, there are some more roles here, but do you have this skill set? Because this require a specific skill to develop the artificial intelligence based system. So is it available? Is the auditor aware about what to audit? Is the auditor about or aware about what are the specific requirements from the organization perspective, is what we understand during this course. Okay, so the application review and the certification decisions are taken by the auditors after doing the assessment of the scope, after doing the assessment whether the organization is ready to have this framework implemented. Have they completely adopted this AIMS as a framework? Okay, before the certification decisions are taken, so you check what? You check the conformity to the standard. That's our role as an auditor. So auditor is not there to do the fault finding. Okay, so role of the lead auditor is not to do the fault finding, but his role is to ascertain the conformity to the standard before you take that certification decision. Okay, so you have the information requirement, you have the process verification to be done. So your documentation will include the requirement of various policies, procedures, the risk assessment which is to be compliant to your AIMS. What are your key performance indicators which will tell you whether the organization is following the artificial intelligence standard or not? Okay, so that verification, that assessment has to be done by auditor, and for that auditor has to be well versed with all these things. So audit program will actually have the defined objectives. So why you are doing the audit, why this AIMS audit is required, what is the scope of this audit, is the entire organization is going to be audited, or you have specific department which is going to audit it, what is the criteria? Okay, so is this organization a developer? Is this organization a implementer? Is this organization a user, or they are all three? Okay, so that criteria, that scope you will define. Based on that, there will be a audit schedule. Okay, there will be a audit plan. There will be the frequency of the audit which will be decided. Like, you will have a certification audit. Then once the certification audit is done, you will have the surveillance audit for 2 years, and then you have the recertification audit. If there are any change in the audit process, you also will do the spatial audit. So this all will be defined when you are deciding on the audit program. You are deciding the audit methodology. You, once that is done, you will decide the time, the duration which will be required for the audit. Is it going to be 2 days audit? Is it going to be 5 days audit? Depending upon what is the scope, how you are going to do the sampling. Okay, so it all will depend upon the complexity and the scale of the organization's audit scope. Okay, so you can do the combined audit. What is combined audit? You can do the audit for stage 1 and stage 2 together. Based on your scope, based on your objectives, you will define the audit plan. You will select the audit team. Now for artificial intelligence audit, apart from the lead auditor, apart from the audit team which may have the audit the auditor as the supporting person, you also will require a technical expert. Okay, the person who will understand the data analytics, who will understand the development, the tools. Okay, so as of today, if you are doing the audit and if you do not have a technical expert as a part of your team, that audit is not considered as a authorized or a valid audit. So technical expert, if when you are doing this course and you become a lead auditor, you can either be a auditor or you can also be a technical expert. Okay, so you define the audit team. You select how many people you will require, what kind of expertise you will require. You will decide the duration of the audit. Okay, and how you are going to do the evaluation, what kind of a evidence, what kind of a sampling you will be required to take from the organization. Now this will depend upon what is the nature of business, what kind of a tool it is using, developing or deploying. Based on that, your audit planning and objectives will be decided. So you will do the first time certification in 2 stages. Stage 1, where you will review the documentation. So you will evaluate the readiness, whether all the processes, all the policies, okay, related to the scope, related to the AIMS, statement of applicability, the leadership involvement, risk assessment, is all this done. Now, if in the stage 1 you find that okay, the readiness is as per the requirement, the documentation is in place, then you will go ahead and you will do the stage 2 audit, which is a much detailed assessment of the effectiveness of all these documentation or all these policies and processes what are developed by the organization. So here you will rely more on the evidence collection. Okay, now as a part of this, normally as an auditor you are not supposed to carry any evidence with you. So you will record the evidence in the documented format. You will not take any soft or hard copy of any evidence with you. You will verify it, you will document it, and based on that you will prepare your report. You will take your decision whether the organization is eligible to be certified or not. So you will collect the audit evidence through interviews, through observation, through walkthrough, through the review of the records. All these things you will do. You will prepare the audit report. Okay, you will summarize the finding. If you find that, okay, if certain places it is not conforming to the requirements of the standard, you will raise the non-conformities. It can be major, it can be minor, depending upon the nature of non-conformity. If you have certain observations, certain recommendations, certain areas for improvement, that also will be documented and it will be reported. Okay, so all this you will do in the adherence to the ISO 19011, ISO 42006, and ISO 17021, which defines the framework for the audit. You will also do the surveillance audits. For once the main audit is done, the surveillance audit will be done for year 2 and year 3, and again in the fourth year you will go for the recertification audit. So it's a continuous process for the 3 years. Fourth year you again go for a recertification. So it gives the assurance that the organization is maintaining the conformity towards the standard through these periodic audits. It's not that you are getting certified and yes, you are done and dusted. No, you have to continuously adhere to the standard. You have to continuously show the evidence that you are compliant. So that is what will happen with the regular maintenance and surveillance audits. So then you will do the recertification if there is any change in the scope, if there is any change in the tools, in the methods used by the organization, then there will be a special audit also. So this will be done after the certification cycle. So it is the continued compliance to the standard. Okay, every fourth year you will do the recertification audit. If there are any changes, then the special audit will be done. So when we are doing this course, when we are learning about the ISMS, ISO IEC 42001, there will be a coverage of the case study. There will be exercises to apply the learnings through the real world audit scenarios. So how to conduct the opening meeting, how to collect the evidence, how to conduct the closing meeting, how to write the non-conformities, how to evaluate the statement of applicability. All those things will be discussed during the course. That is how you will get ready to become the auditor. Okay, so that is what in nutshell you will learn in the ISO IEC 42001 masterclass, which supports you to become a responsible auditor, which supports the organization to be a responsible, auditable, and the organization with a transparent AI governance. So that is what is the objective of this ISO IEC 42001 lead auditor class.